Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Ed Doherty. He heads the Ambrose Leiden Consulting, works with variety of organizations on strategic planning, leadership development, and employee engagement. Welcome to the show, Ed.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Ed. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are talking right now. We'll be talking about how one can achieve their goals at any stage. So, before I come to about running the first marathon and at 70, first book at publishing first book at 72, let me understand a bit about your life journey, your life story, so that the audience listens directly from you who they are listening to.
Sure. So I had a degree in marketing from the University of Massachusetts. I went into the restaurant industry right after school. I eventually became a chain restaurant executive and president of my own company. Subsequent to that, I moved around the United States, and I had a desire to go back home because both my wife and my mothers were still alive. So we moved back home. Originally, I'm from the Massachusetts area, and I went to work for a nonprofit for 14 years. And you may have heard of the pandemic. I was furloughed as a result of
Right.
that. And then I became a consultant. I figured that people might think I was smart because of the color of my hair, and tried to capitalize on that.
Right, right. You are very modest, and I can tell you, but you have achieved a lot of things. But what about working as a pipe fitter, Vietnam War, and all those things you have done? What has egged you to do so many things in life?
Well, I think that at the core, I always wanted to be the best that I could be. I wasn't the tallest, strongest, best looking, smartest person, but the one thing I could do is I could try. I could venture out, and if I was in competition with somebody, even if they were superior to me, I knew that I could out try them, and it's always been my advantage.
Right, always. And for what? Trying for what? To achieve for what? People always look for a sort of outcome first, and then they want to look at that thing. What has been your way of looking at trying things and being best at what you wanted to do?
Well, I think there's several um, concepts, but one of them is I wanted to be better than I was.
Right.
Many times in my life, I was competing with myself. If I could do this well, what would happen if I could do it even better? Because we're all born with certain talents. I can't sing, um, so I don't try, but I can write. So I try to use that talent rather than trying to improve my singing talent. I believe in using your strengths is the best way to succeed.
Right, right. Well said, Ed. Now coming to the marathon part of your life. First marathon at 70, first book at 72. People work hard at early age thinking that they would retire and live a peaceful life, not have to worry about anything. And here you are, you instead of taking some sort of a you know rest or anything, here you are running a marathon and writing a book at 70. Did you have to write a book? Why so much of pain at this stage in life?
Well, the book, sometimes I refer to myself as an accidental author. Um, when I led teams and I supervised for almost 50 years, after email was invented, I sent a Friday update to all my team members. And it had things like reminders and due dates and congratulations and things like that. And I always ended it with something I called a commentary. It was my observation about something. It could have been a lesson that I learned. It could have been a problem that I discovered. It could have been a story that someone told me. And so I ended all of these weekly updates with a commentary. But when I got furloughed, I didn't have any direct reports anymore. I had hundreds of contacts that I was probably going to lose touch with. I was going to be out of sight and out of mind. So I decided that I would do what I called a weekly weblog.
Right.
I called it a Wednesday weblog. It was going to be ready Sunday, but I didn't finish it in time, so I called it a Wednesday weblog. And I sent it to my contacts. And the story that I told every week, some of them were stories that I had told to my staff. Others were things that I recollected. You referenced, I was a pipe fitter, third class, unskilled. Now, if you want to enhance someone's self-esteem, you call them third class and unskilled. And I worked in a shipyard for a summer during the Vietnam War. And I was in shock at how low the productivity was. People were stretching the work so that they could get overtime on Saturday. And the lesson that I learned there is one of the most important things you can do is what you do when no one's looking. And I think that's one of the principles I've taken with me and shared with others. When no one's looking, what you do is even more important than when someone is looking.
Absolutely. What you do when no one is looking, and that brings me to your book, Observations at the Speed of Life. When no one is looking at you, you are observing everything at the speed of life. I like the name of this book. Tell us a bit about the book. First, the title itself. What egged you to go for this sort of a title? What does it mean actually?
Well, so the book contains 60 stories that were all published as part of my weblog over the years. And they were either my favorite stories or stories that got the most comments from my subscribers or on social media. And so what I did is I combined them into the book, and I tried to make sure that every story had some kind of self-development objective, that someone who was reading it would either be inspired, find a solution to something that was bugging them, or even validation. A lot of times people think they know what to do next, but unless someone validates that that's a good course, they waffle and they might guess wrong. And the reason I use the word guess is I realized when I was very young, we're all professional guessers. We don't know what to do next. We are guessing. We assess things and so on and so forth. So if my book, reading a chapter in my book, could help you validate or inspire you or teach you a lesson that benefits you, then it was worthwhile.
Right. And who is this book for? Is it for professionals or or general people?
Um, well, I have a number of business people, business contacts who have evaluated the book. I have I recently was in touch with a 95-year-old woman who lived next to one of my brothers, and he gave her the book, and she just wanted to reach out to me, and she got one for her children, her grandchildren. It just struck a chord with her. So I think that the messages in there are generic, time tested, There's nothing controversial in there. For example, when I when I was the president of a restaurant company, one of the first things I did was I removed all the trash barrels from in front of the restaurants because I found out that all the trash in there was from somewhere else. And if you pull into a gas station today and you look at the trash barrel, there's no trash from the gas station. We had just put these barrels out so people wouldn't throw things on the parking lot. But the reality is they were just trash collectors for other restaurants and other businesses. So the day I removed them, there was kind of panic among all the employees, like what's going to happen? But nothing happened. People who were going to throw their trash away threw it away somewhere else. And we lowered our costs and so on and so forth. So the message here is take a look at what you're doing. Is what you're doing still relevant? Does it still make sense? Or are you just doing it today because you were doing it yesterday?
Right, right, Ed. Now, in today's time, there is a whole lot of this generation or a lot of people who want to retire early, retire rich, but do not know much beyond that what to do with life. Maybe go to some beach house, stay there, relax. That is one. Second thing is a lot of people talk about not aging, that they want to be active, but then many a times this whole debate is about purpose. You live for 50 years, you have no purpose, and you are struggling to find one. To each one their own understanding of their story. And then a lot of people who are who do not look at age in that traditional sense. They understand it only as a number, and want to live it till the day they are on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to tell different people their own understanding of life, goals, the way they want to look life, with the way you are living life, with the way want to be better than you were before trying something new? How do you like to share your perspective to all segments of people who are so hung up around aging, purpose, life, goals, and retirement and all this stuff?
Yeah, there's a line in the song that says, "Sooner or later you wake up with yourself." And I think when you wake up, um, you evaluate who you are, what you're doing. Are you proud of yourself? Are you ashamed of yourself, or whatever the case may be? And so I think self-esteem is the strongest driver of behavior, and I want to feel good about myself. And I'll share one thing related to my running that I
Right.
discovered early on, and why it makes me feel good about myself is I would be running down Main Street, and people younger than me were walking down Main Street. They were exercising, and when I ran by, I know they say, "Look at that old guy! Can you imagine? Look at that old guy do it!" And so I like running by younger people. I don't know why. I just like running by younger people because it's kind of a benchmark of my effort. I talked about trying. Yesterday I ran 6 miles because I'm in training for a 7 mile race next month. And when I got to the 5 mile mark, or the turnaround point, the 2.5 mile turnaround point, I said, do I really want to go? Yes, I do. And so it's that individual decision. So when I did the 6 miles, when I got home, I felt pretty good about myself. So I would say that the people that give up, um, every time you don't give up, you feel better about yourself. And in most times, every activity you do, you either feel a little bit better about yourself or a little bit worse about yourself. And I try to feel a little bit better about myself.
How about having some rest? How about just relaxing, or is relaxing no word that exists for you?
Well, I do relax, but I would I, I I might be afraid to slow down. I will tell you that I might be afraid to slow down. I I I I think I'm going to live longer if I live faster. That's kind of where I am.
Wonderful. Now, Ed, I want to understand in this today's time, you have had a lot of success in a lot of things that you did, achieve major goals in your life. And today, a lot of, people uh, want to have things, those with the speed at which they are watching reels on their mobile phones,
Hmm.
perhaps. Things become too quick and things look easy, and that perseverance to achieve their, for whatever reasons, that seems, you know uh, to be not so much of tested. They don't are not able to test it, and many times, people jump from one thing to another as if life is a real scrolling sort of a thing. What would you like to tell the young generation, especially about perseverance, resilience, about pursuing their dreams in the right earnest, and not like just a try at life, at a try at their dreams? Because that's not what dreams are all about, and that's not how dreams can be achieved.
Yeah. Um, let me share a quote with you
Right.
from a man named Calvin Coolidge, who was a president about 100 years ago in the United States. He said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." Now, I saw that hanging on the wall in a restaurant when I was 21 years old, and 50 something years later, I'm still quoting it. And I think persistence, no matter who you are or what you've done, persistence is the secret to everybody's success. And the people who don't succeed are probably not very persistent.
Wonderfully said, wonderfully explained, Ed. Now let's talk about leadership. You have been in leadership positions, you have seen leaders, you have worked with leaders, you have led organizations, and today also you are, you talk about leadership development. And in these times we have this another word called leadership in crisis. We are just going through this great resignation and quiet quitting. So, how do you see this leadership problem? Where did we, started walking on the wrong path? Uh, what is there a way that that there can be a course correction? What do you think is fundamentally wrong with which through in which our today's leaders are looking at organizations or other aspects of our lives?
Well, I think that leadership is related to credibility. And I think that hypocrisy, of course, is the opposite of credibility. I've always believed that the number one leadership style, or the number one leadership trait, is leading by example. If you don't lead by example, you can read all the books, you can go to all the training, and it just isn't going to work. You have to have credibility, and the number one way to get credibility is to lead by example. I used to tell people, I'm not going to ask you to do anything I haven't done or won't do. And I think that that has been a core of my leadership success. I think that there are far too many people who are in a position of leadership that don't understand the role model obligation that goes with that don't understand the responsibility associated with leadership. One of the number one things I found, for example, is I believe if you lead somebody, you need to meet with them on a regular basis. And you need to make sure that you are supervising them the way they should be supervised. But a lot of times leaders skip those one-on-one meetings, or they cut them short, or they have a bad agenda. I recently had a client who hired me because they were formerly a volunteer for the nonprofit that I led, and the CEO said to me, "Everybody I know that worked for you got better. I would like you to do that to my organization." And I didn't set out to make everybody who worked for me better. I mean, that wasn't something I had on the wall, but I did set out to maximize their ability, performance, whatever the case may be, so that they would be successful and I would be successful. Like one of my cliches, people would say, "Well, what guides you in hiring people?" And I tell them for decades, I never hired anybody unless they were smarter than me. Why would I hire somebody who couldn't elevate what I was doing? And so when I hired so many people smarter than me that I lost arguments all the time. I would say, "Let's do this," and I would be convinced to do something else because the people were able to speak up, because I led by example, and because they knew that I had their best interests at heart.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you advise a lot of people nowadays, organizations and all. So are there organizations who understand this and are wanting to make that course correction, or is it like we have lost this battle? That initial battle is already lost by us, especially with AI coming in and replacing a lot of things. A lot of things that are very much human.
I will tell you that from my experience, to some extent, I think the tide has turned. I think we're entering an era of authenticity. I think
Right.
people are fed up with all the BS, whether it's from a politician or a CEO or whatever it is. I think the more authentic you can be moving forward, the more successful you're going to be. The other thing that I found, just relative to this topic, one of the things I do as a consultant is I listen. And there are a lot of leaders who don't have anybody to talk to or to validate their thoughts. You know, they're leading an organization and they don't want to talk to their direct reports about something. They need somebody else to talk to. And my experience, as I mentioned earlier, the color of my hair can make me very helpful in situations like that.
Right. So coming back to the goals part, Ed, then how should organizations look at goals in today's time? How should individuals look at goals in today's time? Especially, they want to be happy, but they
Mhm.
also want to have a lot of bank balance which makes them
Yep.
happy.
Yep.
Organizations want to talk about all the great things, but they also want to have their eyes always pointed on to the bottom line. So how do they calibrate, how do leaders navigate this, as well as at individuals, how should we look at being happy with our goals, but at the end of the day we are happy with the outcome too?
Well, let me give you a commentary about goals. I may not be answering your question directly, but you'll see where I'm going. I teach a workshop on SMART goals,
Right.
specific, measurable, and so on. In my research for that, I came across a statistic that only 3% of the population actually sets goals. And so we use the word goal as if wishing for something was a goal, and wishing and a goal aren't two things. The example I use in my class is um, I want to have enough money to buy holiday gifts.
Right.
Well, that's not a goal, that's a wish. What's a goal would be, I am going to put aside $20 a week every week for the next 30 weeks so that I'll have $600 to buy holiday gifts by December 1st. That's what a goal is. And a goal by itself isn't any good without some strategies to support that goal, and then some tactics to support the strategies. So I think the biggest problem with corporate and individual goal setting is the definition's wrong. People are saying this is our goal, but it's actually a wish, not a goal, because a goal has plans, timelines, responsibilities, assignments, and so forth.
Wonderful. Wonderfully explained, Ed. And I'm sure a lot of people will understand these things in the way you actually explained it so well. There is much to learn from you, Ed. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, learn more from you, learn more what you are doing nowadays. And so, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Sure. My website is ambroselandon.com, AMBROSELANDEN.com. And you can find out all about me. You can, my email address is there. I think even my phone number is there. And you can learn about me there. You can also, if you're on LinkedIn, every Wednesday I publish my Wednesday weblog. You can find it there. And, Edward Doherty is my name on LinkedIn too. And you can sign up to be a subscriber. And
Wonderful.
if you're interested in the book, it's on Amazon. It's got all 5-star reviews, observations at the speed of life, and it's available both in a paperback as well as a ebook.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.